At my own wedding my brother humiliated me, and when my parents took his side, I learned the family I tried to save had already abandoned me years ago. I broke a lifetime habit on my wedding day. I stopped pretending I could fix my family if I just tried hard enough. I'm the oldest son, the built-in referee, the one who takes the high road so often it felt like a rut. My little brother, Cody, is the kind of guy people call a character when they don't have to live with him. He's charming for exactly 5 minutes. After that, it's gravity and you're the one holding him up. 3 weeks before the wedding he asked if he could propose to his girlfriend during our reception. I thought he was messing with me. When I said no, he didn't argue with me, he recruited my parents. They showed up at my apartment like a panel of judges. My mother, Nina, cried, then stopped on a dime to shout, then cried again like she was trying on emotions until one fit. "You would deny your brother a moment of joy?" she demanded, hand on my fiancé's dress bag like it was a hostage. When I said if she even touched the dress I'd press charges, her tears turned off like someone flipped a switch. "Would you really do that? To me?" she asked, and when I said yes, the screaming came back, hotter. They only left when I said Cody would be uninvited if this continued. He texted later promising it wouldn't happen. I wanted to believe him. I always want to believe him. Our day arrived to clear skies and nerves. My wife, Mara, looked like the kind of beautiful that makes you invent new adjectives. For an hour and a half, nothing went wrong. Then Cody's girlfriend, Sophie, walked in wearing white. Not cream, not champagne, white. People pretended not to notice. My stomach noticed. We made it to the cake. The band started a soft, tinny version of it last. I remember thinking, we did it, we're through the gauntlet. And then I heard it, yes. Bright and theatrical. I turned to see Cody down on one knee beside Sophie. A ring box. Flashes from phones. Sophie's hands to her face like she'd rehearsed. Time slowed to a thin wire. I saw our maid of honor, Mara's best friend, stiffen, step, and then stumble. Her elbow clipped a server. A glass of red arced through the air like a comet and came down across Sophie's dress in a dark, impossible bloom. For one stunned second it was quiet enough to hear the band stop on a wrong note. Then everything broke. Cody spun, red in the face and brighter in the eyes. He decided the spill was a conspiracy. He started shouting at the maid of honor while she was already apologizing, voice shaking. Guests tried to intervene. I stepped in to pull him back, palms up. He shoved me. I stumbled. The part of my brain that does diplomacy stepped aside and the older brother who learned to wrestle chaos to the ground took over. We grabbed at each other's jackets, said stupid things we won't remember correctly, and swung like idiots while our wedding dissolved around us. Mara called the police. Watching the cruisers pull up felt like pouring ice water on a fever. Officers talked to everyone, took statements, looked exhausted. They asked Cody and Sophie to leave. As they were let out, he shouted that we'd ruined their day. Their day. The next morning, my phone buzzed me awake. My parents were calling from Italy. They'd skipped our wedding for their vacation and still found a way to be disappointed in me. Cody had called them first, of course, his version polished and tear damp. They didn't ask what happened, they told me. They said I needed to bail out my brother because he'd mouthed off to the officers and spent the night in jail, and that I had to replace Sophie's dress because it was destined to be her wedding dress too. My father, Gerald, used that voice where every sentence is a gavel. I brought up the decades of small cuts, the extra presents at Christmas that somehow always found their way under Cody's chair. The way be a good example was a leash around my neck, the times I was told to include him until my life had his footprints all over it. They didn't hear me. They never do. "Keep me out of this," I said at last, and meant it. I told them exactly where they could go if they expected me to clean up after him again. The line went quiet. "We're coming home," my father said, like a threat, and hung up. They came back that night and bailed him out themselves. I tried to ignore it and salvage the morning for Mara. I made pancakes with strawberries and a ridiculous amount of whipped cream, carried the tray into our room like a peace offering. Her eyes were puffy from crying but she smiled for me because that's who she is. We ate. I told her about the call. "They will not ruin today," I said, and meant it with my whole chest. We went shopping because she'd been talking about shoes and because buying someone you love a silly, specific thing is a way of saying, we still get to have nice moments. In the dressing room she spun in a dress that made her look like the lead in a movie that ends well. My phone rang. Cody. Drunk enough to pronounce words wrong. He bragged. Our parents promised him the family properties, a trust with hundreds of thousands, and my name wasn't on anything. He said he'd seen our dad's will. "You were never getting a dime," he slurred, delighted. The call dropped. Mara came out asking if the dress made her look fat. I told her she looked like something people write songs about. We bought it. I wanted to be home more than I wanted to be anywhere. They were waiting in our driveway when we pulled in, my parents, Cody, Sophie. You could feel the temperature change. My parents demanded we buy a new dress for Sophie and pay for the emotional damage. I said if anyone owed anyone money for emotional damage, we were first in line. Sophie called Mara a pass around and told her she was jealous of how she'd looked in white at our wedding. She accused Mara of staging the spill. Mara said, very evenly, that she had told her friend to be near the wine in case a miracle was required. Gas on coals. Sophie lunged. Instinct put me between them. Cody's fist found my shoulder. Mine found his jaw. My father pulled out his phone and threatened to call the police like they were a private service. Someone must have already called because the cars pulled up fast. We both went to the station in the back of separate cruisers like two teenagers who'd forgotten we were grown. On the ride, Cody laughed to himself like a kid who knows a secret. You want to know why mom and dad never liked you? He said through beer breath. Silence is its own kind of invitation, and he took it. He said I wasn't really theirs. That our father had an affair and I was the result. That my real mother didn't want me so our parents were stuck with me. He called me a mistake. He said that's why the trust was only his name and why I'd never be written into anything. I told him he was drunk and cruel. He said if I'd ever bothered to notice, everyone in the family had blue or green eyes and I was the only one with dark brown. He said our grandmother tried to convince them to put me in the system, like I was a broken appliance, but they were too late. I stared at the metal grate behind the driver's head and tried to breathe around the feeling like my lungs had lost the instructions. Maybe he was lying. Maybe he wasn't. The thing about a lifetime of small clues is how quickly they assemble into a picture when someone supplies the edge pieces. Mara bailed me out. Cody stayed. He yelled after her to get him too and she said, without turning, ask your fiancé. On the ride home I told her what Cody had said. She didn't make any noises people make when they don't know what to say. She took my hand on top of the center console. Whatever you decide, ask or don't ask, I'm with you, she said, and I believed her. For the first time in my life I stopped trying to force answers out of people who give me none. I didn't confront my parents. If it was true, they'd chosen their secret over me for years, my question wasn't going to make them someone else. If it wasn't true, they'd let him tell me a lie like that and not rush to fix it. Both versions hurt in the same shape. Time did what time does. It moved forward whether I felt ready or not. 3 years later, brightness cracked back into my life in small, generous ways. One morning in October, Mara came out of the bathroom holding a stick like it was a meteor that had fallen into our apartment. Positive, she whispered, and I laughed and cried and said her name 100 times like it was brand new. We decided to renew our vows a few months into the pregnancy and make a memory big enough to set on top of the ruined one. We invited only the people who treat love like a verb. It was in a garden with lopsided chairs and my father figure from work crying into a napkin and Mara radiant in a simple dress that made her look like the future. It was perfect in the way small perfect things are, untouchable because they're held by everyone in the room at once. Then the phone rang in the middle of the night the way bad news prefers. My parents died in a car accident on a slick stretch of road. I felt sad and hollow and angry and 12. We went to the funeral because grief doesn't require permission. Cody stood apart from the cluster of black suits with a look on his face I still don't know how to name. Smug? Relieved? Empty? I kept my distance. There are some bridges you don't cross even to throw flowers. After, rumors trickled in on the family grapevine. Cody and Sophie were living big, new cars, loud vacations, a house with stairs he liked to point at in photos. The inheritance evaporated faster than anyone expected. Then came the calls. A cousin sent a warning that he was making the rounds asking for loans. I didn't pick up when his number lit my screen. I focused on assembling cribs and arguing with Mara about whether tiny socks are practical or a scam. We painted the nursery the soft green she likes and I screwed up the first set of shelves so badly we laughed until I had to sit down. One afternoon he called from a blocked number and caught me. He said he regretted everything. He said he'd left Sophie. He said he wanted his brother back. I listened until the pitch of his voice hit the old frequency of take care of me and I did the kindest thing I know how to do now. I blocked it. I chose quiet for my child. People think the happy ending is the part where the bad person is punished and the good person gets money. That's a movie. Real life is gentler and harder. My ending is pancakes on a Saturday with syrup on the counter and a baby monitor hissing softly like the ocean. It's learning how to swaddle and how to admit when I need 5 minutes in the hallway to cry because the way my son grips my finger with his whole hand short-circuits my heart. It's Mara and me looking at each other across a messy living room and knowing we built this, on purpose, together, without anyone else's deadlines. It's making my own family out of people who choose me back. Do I sometimes stare into the bathroom mirror and see eyes that don't match a family slideshow? Yes. Do I wonder whether the secret was true? Sometimes. Do I need a test or a confession to know who I am? No. I am the man who said no to chaos on a day designed to be beautiful. I am the man who finally believed that love without respect is just control with better marketing. I am the man who put down a generational burden and picked up a car seat. I kept one promise to my parents, though I doubt it's the one they wanted. I am a good example, to my son, of how you can love someone and still walk away from the conditions attached. He will never have to earn a seat at our table. He already has it. And if my brother ever decides to be a person instead of a performance, he knows where we live. The door isn't open. But it isn't deadbolted either. It's just closed, to keep the heat in for the people inside who know how to behave.